He's here.
They're here.
Hello my fearless friends, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about my labor and delivery story. You guys know that I can talk and talk and talk, so I'm going to try to show you as much as I can instead of telling you. As of today, I am 5 weeks plus 2 days postpartum, and I'm actually at the salon where I get my Brazilian wax done. So I'm gonna have my first postpartum Brazilian wax, and I came as soon as I dropped off Jude at daycare, and my girl isn't here yet, so I figured let's see how much I can record, because it's been almost impossible to film at home with how busy we have been transitioning into a family of 4. Jude ends up getting sick again.
You got a friend.
She gets super sick, and then I end up getting super sick. And on the 4th, I have a regular appointment. Once I got to 36 weeks and on, I was required to do an ultrasound every single week just to make sure that Jonah was growing well because of the 𝗿𝗲𝗃𝗃 cord. And for every ultrasound, he also had to pass these tests. There had to be like movement. He had to see him practicing breathing, stuff like that. From the beginning of my pregnancy, Jonah gave us a hard time with ultrasounds in the sense that 1, he would never show us his face, and 2, he was never active. No matter what I ate
or didn't eat
before my appointments, I could just never get him to be active during my ultrasound. We would always get concerned. There was multiple times where they were like,
maybe you might need to go to the hospital to make sure, you know, that he's okay.
This day in particular, he was not passing the test, but also my fluid levels were not what they wanted them to be. From my understanding, they want you to have from 8 and above of fluids. I don't know what the cutoff is, but I know the minimum is 8, whatever they measure it by. And on March 4th, my fluid levels were reading at a 6. That was concerning, and because Jonah was not passing his test, the nurse said,
hey, I need to call the doctor because they might want you to go in today to get induced and have your baby.
Before this, I asked her like,
hey, I've heard that if you have low fluid levels, sometimes that can happen because you're sick and dehydrated. Like, could that be why?
Because I didn't want to have my baby.
So when she called the doctor in the hospital to see if this doctor that was on call wanted me to go in to get induced, he said, go home. In 24 hours, you're going to come back into the office, get lots of rest and lots of water, and we'll see if that impacts your fluid levels. If not, you're probably gonna get induced. They sent us home, guys, but look at my hair. It's from the monitoring. I wanted to show you guys my cheeks because it's from being sick, and I think that's why my fluids were so low. So that's what I do. I go home, I rest up, I try to get as hydrated as possible, but I'm still super sick at this point. Even when I was sitting in that chair getting monitored, my cheeks were super red. I was just like feeling hot. I was just not feeling well. So the following day, we have to take Jude to daycare. It's a regular daycare day.
Okay, you ready to go? All right, let's go. Good to go? Okay, so Jude's in the back. Natalie's getting ready, so she'll be out here in a little bit. But we have a appointment today. It wasn't planned because yesterday she went to an appointment for a normal ultrasound, and they said her water levels were low. So they scheduled this appointment the following day just to make sure everything's good with baby and good with her. Yeah, baby. Ahí viene mamá ahorita. Oh, okay. Mama's coming. Oh, she might be calling me. Ah! Hello?
Hey.
Yeah.
Are you in the car already?
Yeah, we're in the car.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know. I'm wait.
Okay, no worries. You were good.
Ready?
What's up, baby?
Is she in the car seat?
Yeah, she's in the car seat.
Okay, I'll be right here.
Alright. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Mama?
Okay. Yeah, mama's coming.
Hey, Mama.
Did you hear mama?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ahí viene ahorita. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna go to that appointment, and all night we were talking about induction today. because that's a possibility. And she's feeling really sick too, so she's had a sore throat and coughing, body aches, the whole 9 yards, and she's pregnant. Bless you, baby. So, all right, well, we'll see you guys in the next clip.
Hopefully this vlog is just an intro and not the actual delivery vlog.
Jude's asking for Bad Bunny, but he's asleep right now, baby. We'll try to wake him up here in a little bit, okay? Okay.
Sorry, baby.
Okay.
Ricardo and I go get breakfast. This follow-up appointment wasn't at my regular clinic, it was at the hospital. So we go downtown to the hospital. Hi guys. I filmed yesterday, so you guys know that I had an appointment yesterday and my fluid levels were low. They still wanted me to get checked today. So we're currently in the parking lot of the hospital to get another scan to check my fluid levels, to check his activity. And depending on how that goes, we might be getting induced today.
We didn't bring our hospital bag. We didn't bring anything that we need just yet because we're not gonna jump the gun and think we're getting induced today, but there's a possibility.
Yeah, the reason that we think my fluid levels could be affected is because I got sick after Jude got sick. I feel like that has played a role, but we will see. I am trying to stay as calm as possible, but I've already cried about it. I cried on our way to drop off Jude at daycare today, but I realize that at this moment, everything is out of my control. So, we'll see. I look so cachetona now.
Same.
Anything you want to say? So we'll see how it goes. And I go in, I do the regular stuff that I had been doing, and sure enough, the lady walks in and she's like,
Your fluid levels are worse.
I think at that point they were at 5. So not only did they not improve, they also went down. So she says,
I think you're gonna need to be induced today. How do you feel about that?
and immediately I start crying and I'm just like, oh my God. I started crying because the first thing that came to mind was Jude. So the day before I went to the hospital to do the follow-up appointment, my intuition was telling me, spend some extra time with Jude, take her out, enjoy your time with her. Oh my God, I didn't think I was gonna get emotional. I guess I kind of already knew that that was gonna be our last afternoon together. Yeah, as soon as she told me that I was gonna be induced, I started crying because all I could think about was Jude and how before I left, I gave her a big hug and I told her, hey, mommy loves you. I might not be here when you get home. I was just trying to prepare her. Oh my God, I didn't think I was gonna cry. For me not being there, because I'm always there. I've always been there when she wakes up. It would break my heart to think that, you know, that she was gonna get home and mom wasn't gonna be there to do bedtime, because I'm usually always there to do bath time with her too. But then for her to wake up and mama not be there, it really broke my heart. God, I feel so sad about it because I feel like I didn't cherish the moments when it was just us as much as I should have. Qué feo to get to this place where you can't change it anymore and realize I should have really just been in that moment with her, in those moments with her. Anyway, so I started crying and then she was like, I know things don't always go according to plan. My OCD did kick in, and I think in times of uncertainty is when I see my OCD come up the most. I definitely felt all of those intrusive, compulsive thoughts come in. Yes, of course, I was upset that things weren't going according to plan.
Even though you can't really have a plan.
I was more upset because of Jude. The lady, she was super kind. She validated my emotions and she was just reminding me just go in with an open mind. And that is truthfully what I was trying to do from the get-go, because I wanted to have a better labor experience than our first, because our first was very traumatizing. Since the day before, I was already mentally preparing. I'm like, God has a plan, whatever it is. I just need to go in with an open mind. I've done this before. My body knows what it's doing. I know what I'm doing. Jude's gonna be in good hands. I was like trusting in God's plan and in myself, and just like being really confident in myself and confident in Ricardo. Yeah, she was like, go home, get something to eat, get your stuff. Luckily, my bag was already packed. Come back and go up to triage and let them know that you are going to be admitted for an induction. We end up going home, and even though I had my bags packed, Jude was in daycare. She was going to be in daycare for a few more hours after that. I was still like super anxious. Like, I got home and I remember not really knowing what to do. Like, do I clean until we have to go back? Should we just go and get it over with? And that's what I decided, because I figured the earlier that I get induced, the sooner this will be over. So we got our bags, and then we ended up going to McDonald's, because that is I feel like it's almost my comfort food.
Please get the number 5.
Mark?
Let's do medium with the small shamrock shake.
Okay.
And then can I please get...
If you didn't know, I worked at McDonald's for 11 years. And yes, 11, because I was 14 when I started working. We drive to the hospital, go upstairs, I let them know, and then sure enough, she's like, okay, well, here is your robe. Go ahead and get undressed. We'll start monitoring you, and then once we can get you a room, we'll switch you into a room. I get into my robe. Ricardo's there. Jude doesn't have to get picked up anytime soon, and so I started thinking, like, I know that they're gonna take a while to even start the induction, because I have to stay in this little room first. So I told Ricardo, please go pick up our girl, take her home, do bedtime with her, and then we'll have my mom take over at night while Jude is sleeping. That way she stays somewhat in her regular routine, which is one of us giving her a bath and then her going to sleep. And he was very scared that I would go into labor before he could get back to the hospital. Something was telling me there's just no way that it's gonna happen anytime soon. And he was very hesitant because he didn't want to miss the birth of our child. But I was like,
Please, if you really want to help me and make me feel at ease, please go get our girl. Please stay there.
I told him, like, even when they start the induction, it's gonna take a while for Jonah to get here, because you don't know how long it's going to take for you to dilate. At this point, I still didn't even know how much I had already dilated on my own, because I had rejected all of the cervix checks. So he finally agrees. It's finally time to go pick up Jude. He leaves and I stay alone in this room by myself. And because I knew I was going to be there for so long, I took my laptop to work on content, and I made like 3 shorts, and I was watching TV. I was trying to get rest. I was just trying to spend the time as productive as I could. And then I was also getting up and walking, trying to get some steps in, just trying to get movement, because there used to be a girl on YouTube that I used to watch when I was pregnant with Jude, when I was trying to prepare for a delivery. And she would always say that motion is lotion. Motion is lotion. And even though I knew that I wasn't induced yet and my body was not in labor yet, I started to walk around the room as much as I could. I would do body weight squats, things like that. In the midst of all of this, they did ask me if, I was feeling sick or anything, and I told them yes. So they ended up taking some swabs from me, and turns out that I had the flu. Girl, I was about to go into labor with the flu, and I have asthma, right? So I'm already like all congested. I couldn't breathe right. I was talking to 𝗿𝗲𝗍 before all of this happened, because there were a couple of days that Jude missed daycare because she was sick, and I was like,
if I go into labor being sick, I'm gonna be pissed.
I remember telling her those exact words, and sure enough, I did end up going into labor super sick. But before we get to that part, so they do the swabs, and I'm in this room for the longest time. It was almost 9 o'clock when I finally got a room. And by that time, Ricardo was basically ready to come to the hospital with me, it was perfect timing because Jude usually never falls asleep past 8:30. It was just perfect timing the way that played out. Right around the time that they're giving me my room, Ricardo gets there, which is perfect. I feel like literally right when I was laying down on the bed is when he walked in with our hospital bags. Even after I got into the room, it still took a little while for them to give me Pitocin. I don't remember why that was. I think they had to give me some other medications, but also because I had been sick for more than a few days, they couldn't give me anything for the flu. And my throat, I felt like my throat was closing up. I felt terrible. And not just that, but because I had the flu, and apparently lots of moms that day that were in labor had the flu, and because I was on that floor where there was going to be lots of moms and lots of babies, they put us in isolation. So every time that the nurses and the doctors would come in, they had to wear these like hazmat suits to treat me because they were trying to be really cautious not to spread the flu.
This is a 2319 in progress. The area is clear. Coming through. Watch yourself.
Which is completely understandable, but I thought I would mention that because it comes into play later. Eventually, I get put on the Pitocin. This was exactly at 10 p.m. So it's confirmed I am 3 centimeters dilated already before starting the Pitocin. Okay guys, it's 10 o'clock. They just started the Pitocin. I've been contracting, very minimal, so we'll see what happens. I'm already exhausted at this point because emotionally it was such a long day. All I could think about was Jude, because I know that when you get induced, you can be in the hospital for a very long time. And I was just praying and telling my body, please let this be a fast labor.
Several months later.
Hello, I am 15 weeks postpartum when I'm filming this. I think I'm 15 weeks. I'll correct it if not. It is about to be 9 p.m. and I have to stay up to do a feeding for Jonah at 10:30, and so I figured I'd try to film this because who knows when I will have the opportunity to do this again. I was going to get ready, I really was, but this is real life and I just don't have time, and honestly I have no energy. I never finished filming the birth story video and I'm going to do that now. Let's get started where we left off. They did start the Pitocin at 10 p.m. and I think I said this already, but before they started the Pitocin, I had my first cervix check and I was already 3 centimeters dilated. Even before they started the Pitocin, I started to feel a little bit of contractions. I have a clip where it is 12:57 a.m. Got a cervix check, still 3 centimeters dilated, but I'm 80% effaced at -1 station. And the angle from that clip reminds me what was going on at the time. After they did that second cervix check, which was 11, 12, 1, almost 3 hours after starting the Pitocin, and they noticed that I hadn't dilated anymore. They asked me if I was willing to get on the yoga ball and or walk around or do some movement, and I was like,
Yes, of course.
motion is lotion. I don't know what happens when you're in labor that you get supersonic strength and you just do the damn thing. And maybe it just applies in general to when you're a mom, you just do the damn thing. So I get on the yoga ball. Ricardo and I were sleeping prior to this, or trying to sleep. I didn't want someone constantly around me or touching me. I kind of just wanted to be me and my body, but know that I had the support there if I needed it. I feel like the contractions really started to get stronger after that second cervix check and after I started to move on the yoga ball. So what I was doing on the yoga ball, just the forward and backward movements, and then I would do the 8, the number 8, the figure 8 with my waist, and then I would do it backwards, and then I would jump up and down, and I was just doing that circuit for as long as I could. And then eventually I did start to feel the contractions to get a lot stronger, and I still didn't wake up Ricardo at this point. When I was pregnant with Jude, I had bought these affirmation cards that I swore I was gonna use while I was in labor. In the midst of it, I think I kind of forgot about them. However, I always remembered one affirmation and it stuck with me since I read it, which is I could do anything for a minute. So whenever a contraction would hit, that's what I would tell myself. That, and on top of that, there's an account on Instagram that I had been obsessed with when I was pregnant with Jude and with Jonah, because it's an account that's based around weightlifting mamas and postpartum and how to get ready for labor. But I had looked up their account and I was trying to find resources on how to make labor easier, because they had a lot of videos on how to help baby get into position, etc., etc. But this one that I found particularly was how to breathe through contractions.
So let's close our eyes, take a big inhale in through your nose, and as you exhale, relaxing between our eyes, feeling our jaw relax, releasing, maybe opening and closing your jaw to release the muscles. Moving down our neck, releasing in our shoulders, dropping your shoulders away from your ears. On your next exhale, releasing within your butt, stop clenching in your butt, releasing down the legs, wiggling your toes, letting this one go. And you'll do that just kind of maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the contraction to kind of help you relax during it and make it.
And I watched that video in the triage room, and I was using that method while I was contracting on the yoga ball, and I feel like that just really helped me get through the contractions. I really felt locked in, and I really felt like the affirmation was really helping, because I was just like,
I can do anything for at least 1 minute. I can do anything for at least 1 minute. And
before walking into the hospital, I've always said I'm going to let my body do what it needs to do up until I feel like it's too painful. Then I'll ask for the epidural, or even a little bit before that, because with Jude, when I asked for the epidural, it took them
2 hours
to get it to me, because they lost my paperwork, and I think they lost my blood work as well. So by the time that I got the epidural with Jude, girl, I was a hot mess. Like, I remember I was shaking, I was crying. I'll never forget this, and I'll never forget this nurse, but I was so afraid and in so much pain that the nurse, she got on top of the bed with me and she grabbed me by the shoulder and she's like, hey, you're okay, everything's gonna be okay. She was just trying to calm me down, but I was in a state that I had never been in before. So anyway, all of this to say, I knew I was going to listen to my body the first time when it asked for the epidural, and I wasn't going to let my ego get in the way, because I didn't know how long it was going to take for the epidural to get to me. I'm sitting on this yoga ball waiting for the nurse to come in, because if you've never had a baby before, know that when you are in labor, they're going to come in constantly to come check your vitals. So I was waiting for her to come into the room so that she could also help me go to the restroom, which, by the way, these labor and delivery nurses that I've come across have all been angels, thank God. But yeah, she checks me, whatever, and then I tell her,
can you help me go to the restroom?
I stand up from the yoga ball and I just feel like a gush of water. And then I tell the nurse, I think I waited too long to go to the restroom, or my water just broke. I had my room in complete darkness aside from, you know, the monitors in the hospital. And she's like, okay, well, let's go to the bathroom, let's clean you up, whatever, and then we'll see if it was your water. And I'm like, okay. But before this too, before I got off the yoga ball, when she was checking my vitals and all of the other stuff, I asked her to request the epidural for me because the contractions were starting to get intense. She did that, and then I started walking to the bathroom after I felt like that gush. I turn on the lights in the bathroom and I look down and there's blood. I see blood on like my inner thighs and on the floor. And I started to panic because I just go back to when I had delivered Jude and had the postpartum hemorrhage. And then I was thinking about just all of the complications that could happen because of my cord complication. So anyway, I tell her, I'm like,
I'm bleeding, there's blood on the floor.
And she comes in and she's like, okay, well then I think your water broke. And I'm like, oh, okay, well this is normal. Because when I had my water break with Jude, I was laying in bed. I already had the epidural and my water broke while I was laying in bed. So I didn't really get to look at it. But this time I did. And so I go pee, whatever. Turns out it was my water. And then she checks me and I'm at 5 centimeters dilated, I believe. And she tells me, well, I'm glad that you requested your epidural, because I guess once your water breaks, your contractions get a lot stronger. So I was also very relieved that I requested the epidural when I did. I remember laying back in bed and I was just waiting for the anesthesiologist to come in and give me the epidural. I could still feel my contractions starting to get pretty intense. At this point, I did wake up Ricardo, so he was holding my hand when they would get really, really bad. But I still felt really in control. I remember that the nurse told me that she hadn't seen somebody so in control of their labor like she had seen me. I know it's like an ego boost, right? I don't know why, but I think for me it felt like some sort of validation that I had grown in self-worth, solely because when I was a first-time mom giving labor, I was so afraid because I didn't think that my body could do it. I didn't think that I could do it. But this time around, I was so confident that I could do it, and hearing her say that added to my feeling of like, I got this. I really have this. Eventually, the anesthesiologist comes in. Super nice. He gets the epidural done. This time I didn't have any issues with it because with Jude, when I got the epidural, it only numbed half of my body, so I had to get it twice. I know I never shared my labor story with Jude, and maybe you guys are seeing why. It was such a negative experience. I get the epidural, it's amazing, I feel great, and I finally end up getting some sleep. We both were sleeping good, and so she comes in and checks me and she's like, you're at a 7. And then things just kind of escalated quickly from there. I don't remember exactly the time frames. Before her shift was about to end, she was like, you're gonna have your baby in the next couple of hours. And then I just remember seeing her get all of like the delivery stuff ready, the table, all of the tools that they use. The doctor gets there once they have a change of shift, and then she checks me and she's like, okay, yeah, you're ready to have a baby. She just came to say hi, to be like, oh, I'm gonna deliver your baby, but she didn't even leave the room because she said basically that if I would have laughed or coughed that he would have fallen out. 10 minutes later, they're like, okay, you can start pushing. And I start pushing, and then Jonah came out within 5 pushes, and it was easy, and it was peaceful, and it was beautiful, and it was nothing compared to what it was like with Jude. And I got to hold my baby instead of having to be wheeled off for surgery. It was just a beautiful experience, and I was just so grateful to God that it was different this time. I didn't have a postpartum hemorrhage. As you guys know, my medical team was already planning for the potential of that happening, so they had everything on board. They gave me all the correct medications and all of that good stuff. I'm just grateful that the experience was different and that I can say that I experienced a positive birth. And I think every mama deserves a positive birth. But if you're watching this and you have an induction scheduled, or you got a spontaneous induction and you were not planning for it, just know that it could turn out positive, just like it did for me. That is my birth story. After I gave birth, we stayed in the delivery room for a little bit, and then they moved us up to the postpartum floor, and we started our journey as parents to a newborn again. I unfortunately did have complications with my blood cells when I was trying to leave the hospital, so I actually ended up having to stay, I think, an additional day. And as you guys know, I was in a rush basically to get back to my girl, and because I had the flu, I couldn't have her come see me and I couldn't go see her, so that really messed me up. I was desesperada, and I don't know, I felt like almost like a separation anxiety. It was awful, but I'm glad that that's over and I'm here with both of my babies. But yeah, there's been lots of stuff going on, and I'm excited to finally get on with my life and tell you guys where I've been, what I'm up to, and what I plan on doing. If you got to the end of this video, I appreciate you so much. I love you guys so much. I hope you guys are staying fearless, and I will see you in my next video.